Hello, fellow entrepreneurs. Welcome to my channel where I read and summarize books relating to being a better entrepreneur. I've met no one who I thought was wise who didn't read. I believe reading is essential for those who seek to rise above the ordinary. So today, we will be learning from Antonio Garcia Martinez's book, Chaos Monkeys. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. Take a look at Silicon Valley's new economy. Many companies in Silicon Valley and California have risen to dizzying heights over the last few decades. These corporations are now among the most powerful in the world. It's difficult to overstate the magnitude of their impact on the lives of most of America and the world. But, as with many success stories, it isn't all sunshine and rainbows. A closer examination of how these businesses operate reveals a more bleak picture. This video is broken up into 7 parts. Part 1, the backbone of Silicon Valley. Part 2, how does Google make money? Part 3, the startup landscape. Part 4, why Bill Gates and Steve Jobs were ruthless businessmen. Part 5, starting a business needs obsessiveness and a never-say-die attitude. Part 6, Google Plus versus Facebook. Part 7, Facebook's security team is hidden for a good reason. Part 1, the backbone of Silicon Valley. Immigrants to Silicon Valley sometimes resort to fake marriages because the process is so difficult. In the 18th century, many Europeans attempting to reach America paid for their passage by submitting to several years of indentured servitude, while tech geeks looking for work in the 21st century America don't have it as bad as they once did. They still have it tough. For an immigrant, getting permission to work in Silicon Valley is difficult, and the process frequently leads to exploitation. Obtaining an H-1B visa, a non-immigrant visa for foreign workers, is one option. However, there are only a few of these available. In 2013, 200,000 foreign workers applied for H-1B visas to work in Silicon Valley, but only 16,000 were approved. Those who are fortunate enough to be approved are then completely dependent on their boss. If they're fired or the company goes out of business, their visa expires, putting them in a precarious position where they're forced to accept a lower salary than their American counterparts. As a result, corporations benefit the most. They hire highly skilled workers who will work for less money, and these workers must endure 5 years of exploitation before applying for a green card, which grants them more rights and permanent residency status. It's understandable that immigrants would prefer to avoid all of this, and the simplest way to do so is to fake a marriage. The U.S. immigration system is more accommodating to those looking to start a family. In fact, 2/3 of all successful immigration applicants are granted immediate relative or family preference visas. Surprisingly, you don't even have to marry an American citizen for this method to work. In 2008, Stanis Argyris, a Greek computer specialist, applied to join Antonio Martinez's startup team. So Argyris married a Turkish woman who was studying at Stanford University on a student visa. Argyris could now apply for a student spouse visa, stay in the country, and eventually work for him. Part 2. How does Google make money? Google makes astronomically large sums of money from its automated advertising system. Sure, being able to print your own money would make life a lot easier. However, because this is such a serious crime, the next best thing would be to start a company like Google. Google is a phenomenal money-making machine and one of Silicon Valley's greatest success stories. Google makes around $70 billion in revenue each year, a staggering figure that may have you wondering, how can a search engine make that much money? To begin with, it answers many of life's most pressing questions such as, what is the best camera under $300? To, can you recommend a good divorce lawyer in the area? However, Google also creates ads for businesses that are related to your searches, and it makes money every time someone clicks on one of them. The amount of money Google makes from a click is determined by the keyword and the number of companies bidding on it. A popular keyword like insurance can fetch up to $54 per click. Even more remarkable is the fact that Google barely breaks a sweat dealing with all of the bidding companies, thanks to an ingenious system that allows computers to do the work for them. Of course, this is reasonable. There are billions of different keywords that people look up, and selling individual ad space for each of them would be nearly impossible. Google holds an automated, instantaneous, and lightning-quick auction to solve this problem. It begins as soon as the search is started. Google's computers quickly scan all of the pre-placed bids for this keyword made by advertising companies. When this occurs, 2 factors are considered. 1, the highest bidders and who has the best chance of being clicked on. And 2, the ad with the best combination of these 2 criteria will appear at the top of the search results. This is why different results may appear when searching for the same term multiple times. If you search for London furniture today, The winning bid might go to Swoon Editions, a handcrafted furniture company. Next week, it might go to Unum Design, a luxury furniture company. Investing in a startup is a risky business, so businesses compensate by offering special deals. If you're looking for a risky adventure, bungee jumping or whitewater rafting are two choices. Alternatively, you can invest in a startup to avoid traveling and putting your body at risk. Part 3. The Startup Landscape. You should have no trouble finding an opportunity, as startups are always on the lookout for risk-averse investors. A seed round is the first round of funding that a startup receives. This is when the company's founders raise funds from friends and family in the hopes of attracting large-scale investors. These early investors are in a risky situation for two reasons. The company could fail and they'll never see their money again, or the company could become too successful and they'll end up with a tiny share. Let's say a friend offers $100,000 in seed money, and this initial loan is converted into an equity investment when the company succeeds and decides to go public. Let's say the company is worth $10 million. $100,000 divided by $10 million equals 0.01, which means the friend who invested $100,000 now owns 1% of the company. Obviously, even 1% isn't a great result, so startups offer special deals to help prevent the specter of such scenarios from scaring away potential investors. Placing a cap, or a maximum amount, on the company's valuation is one attractive offer. This keeps an investor's stake from shrinking too much. Let's go back to our $100,000 friend and say the company agreed to a $3 million cap on their initial valuation. When the company launches, the friend will own 3.3% of the company. Even if the company is eventually valued at $100 million, the friend's initial stake will increase in tandem with the company. While this offer may make one risk appear less significant, the fact that the company can still fail is an unavoidable concern. Part 4. Why Bill Gates and Steve Jobs were ruthless businessmen. Many parents aspire to raise children who are both successful and compassionate. These parents may not want their children to pursue a career in entrepreneurship. There, niceness is most definitely not a factor in success. Both Bill Gates and Steve Jobs used ruthless methods on their way to riches. Bill Gates, who was born into a wealthy Seattle family, dropped out of Harvard University before founding Microsoft in 1975. Around this time, Gates received word from IBM that the company was in the market for a new operating system. And Gates knew just the man for the job, IT whiz Gary Kildall. Kildall, however, surprised Gates by refusing to agree to the terms of IBM's contract. This was at the point which Gates stopped being nice. He had a Microsoft programmer copy Kildall's operating system and rename it IBM's Disk Operating System, or DOS, knowing he was sitting on a gold mine. The innovative system, which allowed computer hardware to be interchanged, became the property of Microsoft after Gates registered the copyright under his own name. As a result, MS-DOS is a well-known acronym. As a result, neither Kildall nor IBM received a penny of the billions that Gates began to receive. Even when he was first starting out, Steve Jobs was known for his unkindness. Jobs began his career as an unpopular employee at Atari, the maker of the table tennis-style video game Pong. Nolan Bushnell, the company's CEO, offered a cash prize of several $1,000s to anyone who could create a single-player version of Pong in 1975. Steve Jobs enlisted the help of his friend Steve Wozniak, who could solve almost any technical problem in order to win. Jobs pushed hard until Wozniak figured out the solution. Jobs was the winner of the prize money. Jobs then told Wozniak that the prize was only $700, not thousands of dollars, and that he would only get $350 for his troubles. Part 5. Starting a business needs obsessiveness and a never-say-die attitude. Okay, so billionaire tech titans like Bill Gates and Steve Jobs have a reputation for being extremely intelligent. However, there are other qualities that trump intelligence if you want to succeed in Silicon Valley. Obsessiveness is one of these qualities, and it's perhaps the most important when starting a business. Before founding AdGrok, a company that optimizes Google Ads, Antonio Martinez was near the bottom of his PhD class, having to retake several exams. He worked with many computer programmers enviously, because they were far smarter and more talented than he was. Martinez was obsessive, despite his lack of intelligence, and it is because of this quality that he has been so successful in Silicon Valley. He was so focused on the AdGrok project that nothing else seemed to matter. He worked ridiculous hours every day and watched his daughters grow and change on Skype rather than in person, because life was just one tech event or company retreat after another. His work had taken precedence over his personal life. He abandoned his family. He had to give up his pastimes. Until AdGrock launched, he stopped reading books and watching movies, and he removed all distractions. Martinez was rewarded for his obsessiveness, which isn't a pleasant way to live. Twitter paid more than $10 million for AdGrock in 2011. Another crucial quality that can aid in the launch of a startup is a refusal to give up. Some people, like Antonio Martinez, are born with this trait. Martinez credits his success to surviving a difficult childhood that included a sadistic older sister, a bully father, and numerous schoolyard fights. Martinez developed a never-give-up attitude by persevering through a difficult childhood, which he later applied to his time on the Wall Street trading floor and the endless challenges he faced during AdGrock's launch. Part 6. Google Plus versus Facebook. The challenge of Google Plus was met by Facebook's tenacious leadership and devoted employees. Martinez's tenacity and desire to succeed are contagious, and perhaps no better example of an obsessively dedicated team rising to a challenge in the history of startups than what occurred at Facebook's headquarters in 2011. With the launch of Google Plus in that year, Google challenged Facebook's dominance as the most popular social platform. It was a difficult task. Google had already lost some of its most talented employees to the younger startup, and now it was time to strike back. Many popular Google products, such as Gmail and YouTube, had already promoted Google+. Its design, photo-sharing features, and ad policies were all superior to Facebook's when it first launched. But Facebook wasn't going to take it lying down. Their response was swift, demonstrating that the company had cultivated a loyal and dedicated workforce. All they needed was the right kind of motivation, which was provided by their leader, Mark Zuckerberg. He immediately put the company on lockdown after learning about Google+, ordering all employees to remain on-site and work 24/7 until the threat was neutralized. Zuckerberg isn't a natural public speaker, but he rose to the occasion and delivered a stirring speech demanding that Facebook's quality be improved in a hurry. "Carthage must be destroyed," declared Zuckerberg at the end of his speech, quoting Roman Senator Cato the Elder. Google Plus was clearly Carthage to Zuckerberg's Rome. His employees reacted positively. They turned the challenge into an event by creating Roman costumes and posters, as well as quickly updating Facebook's functionality and photo-sharing options to match Google Plus. As a result, customers of Facebook saw little reason to leave. And Zuckerberg demonstrated that a company with a dedicated corporate culture that thrives on motivation can overcome even the most difficult challenges. Part 7. Facebook's security team is hidden for a good reason. Some of Facebook's major battles have received a lot of attention. However, there is a never-ending series of skirmishes behind the scenes, and a team of employees who are always in the thick of it, protecting Facebook's customers. If you have a Facebook account, you probably use it to communicate with friends, play games, and keep up with current events. However, you're probably unaware that, while you're browsing photos and chatting with friends, Facebook's security team is keeping you safe from potentially harmful content. One of the most difficult challenges for the internet startups is online security, which requires security teams to review all ads and be on the lookout for a variety of online threats, such as scammers, sexual predators, and pornographers. It's a thankless job because it's mostly done in the shadows. It's usually only noticed when something goes wrong or falls through the cracks, at which point security is abandoned. In fact, when they accidentally flag something like a breastfeeding photo, most people become enraged by their work and accuse them of censorship. Facebook's security team created a Facebook group called Scalps at Facebook to remind users to express gratitude for the accurate and beneficial flagging of harmful content, and perhaps also to compensate for their usual anonymity. Here, they list the photos and profiles of the criminals they've apprehended, as well as a description of the crimes they've committed. Apart from this group page, there are compelling reasons for Facebook to keep the team's work hidden. The main reason is that if the public was made aware of all the heinous details of the numerous crimes and attempted crimes, it could deter people from using Facebook. Many Facebook users are already concerned about their online privacy and safety, and if they were informed of every sex offender and scammer caught on the platform, they might reconsider using it. While the security team would be applauded, parents would most likely ensure that their children stayed away entirely. This is just one of the many exciting and unsettling things happening behind the scenes in Silicon Valley. This wraps up the summary from the book, Chaos Monkeys by Antonio Garcia Martinez. Thank you for sticking it out through the very end of this video. Nothing helps out my channel more than y'all watching the entire video. These videos take a long time to make, and is a labor of love. If you would like to contribute by buying me a cup of coffee, I'll leave the link below along with a link to this book. And as always, if you like this video, please like and subscribe, and watch these videos that might pique your interest. I'll see you on the next one. Until then, keep reading.